Welcome, viewers. Have you ever wondered how digital media, which has become so much a part of our lives, how did it grow? How did it evolve? How did it emerge? Today, we are precisely going to talk about the emergence of the same digital media. So, in this session, we will be looking at what is digital media, the digital, the online, and the new media. We'll be looking at the characteristics of digital media. We'll be looking at interactivity, convergence, and we'll also be discussing what is immediacy, archiving, and what are the other linkages. So, let us begin with the digital media. Every industry is looking and reinventing various processes like production, resource management, marketing, and is aligning itself to the rules of a digital world. You cannot afford to not have a digital identity in today's times. Media industry too has undergone a sea change through the digital transformation process. And each and every function of a media organization is affected by the new technologies in the recent years. So, while some of the media houses were very prompt and active in embracing these new changes, there were others that kind of lagged behind. Laggards still could not resist the change for long, and they had to hop on to this bandwagon in order to survive in the industry. Slowly, they have embraced the technology and understood its meaningful role in the digital world. Now, let us talk about what is digital, what is online, and what is the new media. In the context of media, there are a number of terms which are used interchangeably, specifically these three. And also new media, information and communication technologies, digital media, online media, multimedia. We also talk about the convergence media, etc. Though there are some of the overlaps which exist, but the meaning varies with the context. Now let us first look at ICT, the Information and Communication Technologies. According to the World Bank, ICT consists of hardware, software, networks, and media for collection, storage, processing, transmission, and presentation of information. Now, this information can be in the form of voice or data or pictures or texts. Digital media, as we understand, it is a digital process of breaking down all this information. What information? The data, graphics, audio, text, pictures, or video into a sequence of numbers or digits. It can be transported by the wire, cable, or broadcast frequency to a destination and then be reassembled to come back into its original form. So, digital media refers to audio, video, and photo content that has been encoded. Encoded means digitally compressed. Encoding content involves converting audio and video input to a digital media file, say for example a Windows file. So this is what we understand by digital media. After digital media is encoded, it can be easily manipulated or distributed and rendered or played by computers. And it is also easily transmitted over computer networks. Now, some of the examples of these digital media types could be, say for example, WMA or Windows Media Audio, WMV, the Windows Media Video, MP3, JPEG, AVI, all of them are examples of how digital media is encoded before it is presented to the audience. And then there is this concept of new media. Now, new media refers to all those digital media that are interactive, that incorporate a two-way communication, and that involve some kind of computing as opposed to the old media. What is old media? Telephone, radio, television, print are all old media. And this is, I am quoting Robert Logan, and he said this in the year 2010. The online media is a generic term. And this is often loosely used to describe the digital information access and retrieval and dissemination. Now, this means that the accessing of information on internet via modem or telephone line is possible. And when we talk of multimedia, as the name suggests, when we use more than one media technique, like text, video, audio, still images, or moving images. And through all of it, we are telling a story that makes a multimedia story. Now, this story is then a piece that uses two or more media in it. So, this is what we understand by multimedia. Now, these are the terms that are deeply linked, and it is difficult to distinguish each of it in a given scenario. So, the significance of limiting this definition is largely contextual. While the information and communication technology encompasses everything from hardware to software and also includes dissemination of information, the focus is on what makes any information digital in the digital media definition. In new media, stress is on how digital media is being used with interaction and two-way communication as its important feature. So, multimedia, however, is a combination of two or more media techniques which is easily possible when the information is available in a given digital format. So, while there is an overlapping basis for all of these, each of these terms have some distinct feature which distinguishes it from others. So, for this session, the term digital media is being used to include the online platforms, the social media, the new digital tools, and the new ways of packaging and disseminating information in all context of media industry. So, having said this, let us now understand what are the characteristics of digital media. There has been a massive growth, as we would all understand and acknowledge, in the popularity of digital media over the last decade. In fact, digital media there was a time when it was seen more as a threat to the legacy media. Wherever there is a decline in newspaper readership, digital has been quoted as one of the major reasons. Now, there are certain characteristics that make it stand out amongst the rest of the media. Now, one of those characteristics is interactivity. For all of you who have observed it closely, you would understand how digital platforms have made themselves more interactive for the audiences to be able to give them a feedback, to be able to get a feedback or response from them, and so that this important characteristic is able to distinguish digital media from the traditional media. It allows people to rate, it allows people to share, like, and comment on any message. You would see in usual OTT platforms, people post a lot of memes. Memes and the sharing of it is also an example of interactivity. Now, this is a shift from the limited interactivity which the traditional media offered. Like, say, for example, we would write letter to editors in the newspaper, and that was a way of accumulating feedback for the newspaper. Now, it is not this slow and less rampant in the digital age. So, this was the only way of giving a feedback to newspapers or television and radio. And the unlimited interactivity that the digital media offers helps it to stand out. This interactivity not only allows people to respond or react to the messages in general, whatever they see and view, also which are the ones which are being constructed by the media houses, it also helps the consumer turn into a producer. And this is what we know as prosumer. So, people are not just consuming media messages, they're also constructing media messages. And the feature has turned passive consumers into active producers. So, this is the beauty of the digital medium. Most of the news portrayals nowadays are offering opportunities to the users to interact with the content. In case of interactive stories, they also interact with the producers of the content and also provide space for user-generated content. Citizen journalism is a case in point. Or say, for example, all those people who record on their phones whatever is happening, whatever is the latest, and post it on social media or send it as a feedback to the news channels. It is an example of that. Report for CNN is also an example of how mainstream media encourages its audiences to interact with the platform. And why is interaction becoming so important now? Because the more you understand what your audiences feel and want, the better you can get at your art and business of media. So here the interaction is not just by writing comments or rating stories done by CNN. There is an interactive international monthly half an hour TV program which showcases the most newsworthy and informative contributions and citizen journalism reports on the internet. So, besides sending it to the platform, the citizens can post it on Facebook also, Instagram or Twitter or wherever else, whichever other social media handles they are active on. The second most important feature is convergence. When we talk of convergence, we need to understand that digital media makes the merging of various communication formats like print and television and radio possible. On the internet, every medium resides next to the other. And you can listen to an audio interview or watch the event happening and read the story at the same time. Journalists are using one medium to tell one aspect of the story and another medium to tell another aspect of the same story. So, for example, if we have a story on satellite launch in India, where India might use an explainer video to explain the photographs, the process, and to tell how it is being implemented. The text to analyze the initiative and audio for interviews with the experts. All these elements could be combined to tell the story of launch of a satellite, and this is called multimedia journalism. In this case, each media element is an important part of the story. So, multimedia reporting is usually confused with parallel reporting at some times. In parallel reporting, 2 or 3 journalists are covering a story for print or video or audio. But here we are making use of multiple media to work on the same story. In such cases, these stories are independent of each other as they are separate stories and they are told by different journalists. Even if it is uploaded on the website, the only thing they have in common is the subject. Otherwise, the stories are very different. In multimedia journalism, various media elements are weaved into the story according to the requirement of the story. Now, there are a number of digital tools which can help the journalists to write a multimedia story. And another important aspect, another important feature of the digital media is its immediacy. So, while the radio and television are only one thing that can show one thing at a time, and to show another, the previous one has to be interrupted on websites, and one can have multiple stories and the same can be updated as the developments of those events is taking place. So more the number of websites, more the number of aspects of the same story that can come in, and from time to time they can get updated as well. A single story can post a number of updates on one story itself. The social networking sites, by introducing live broadcasts, have changed the game altogether. Traditional media houses as well as locals can broadcast any event live. The broadcast feature, though, offers a lot of opportunities with such a smartphone in hand and no other infrastructure. But at the same time, use of this feature has drawn a lot of criticism because live broadcasts is another new trend. And to add to this is the latest feature of 360 video by the live broadcast app like Periscope. So it is not just a live shot, but with 360 video on Periscope, one can experience moments with the broadcaster and take a look around. It's one step closer to actually being there in person. So this is the beauty of it. The next important feature of the digital media is archiving. Now, this characteristic is what differentiates digital form and the legacy form of media and its inherent capacity to achieve news stories, videos, audios, and infographics. The shelf life of news, which used to be very limited, has increased tremendously with all sort of content lying in different shelves of the website. Now, one can visit this content anytime, and the tags and keywords, they are the ones that act as keys to those shelves. So, for example, an article on global trade can be accessed by typing a search query in the search box. if the article is given a tag like trade or Indian economy or finance, etc., it will be easy to retrieve this article from the repository, which is full of millions of articles pertaining to these. It is important to have all the well archived websites, but at the same, it should also be searchable. So, the entire task of digital media is to make possible the idea of archiving more information and at the same time making it more searchable. The archiving can also help writers to provide important context to what they are presenting, writing, and it can also be an excellent resource for research. For readers, it provides an opportunity for non-linear consumption of content. They can create their own stories by reading different pieces written by different writers and at a different time. Another important feature of the digital media is the linkages. Archiving and information which is available on the web makes linkages possible. It is easy to link the article to something which has been written earlier on the same topic or with an article on the same subject written by a different writer. Linkages provide depth to the story. In digital, for any story, the amount of space is limited. So it is in case of print or TV or radio where there is a limited space and time. But here, the space is not as limited as the traditional media. While in legacy media, the challenge is to tell the entire story in the limited time and space which is allocated to it, in the digital media, this challenge can be overcome by providing more links to the other material which is relevant to the story. Now, it could be an article in the same website or it could be some report outside that website. And the linkages broaden the scope of the story and multiple angles can be explored at the same time. So this is the beauty of digital media. It also poses a challenge of losing a reader to some other website or content. So this is one of the limitations. So while your reader is constantly reading whatever is available on your website, once you have given a link which takes the reader outside the website, you very well have this, the risk of losing your reader. It becomes very different and difficult to bring readers back to the site once they are navigated outside of the website to look for some other content. Therefore, it is important to use linkages strategically in any story. So with that, we come to the end of this session. I hope you found it enjoyable as well as useful. See you again shortly. Thank you.